This is Purposed Audacity, the space for us to learn about various individuals who are living boldly for Jesus Christ in their daily lives. It's also the space for us to learn about and discuss the various things that might be affecting us on a daily basis, but of course applying a biblical perspective. I'm your host, Charmaine Marie, and it's my pleasure to be journeying with you, hoping that you'll enjoy the content and be encouraged and share and like and subscribe so that we can build an online community that's supportive and definitely talks about the boldness that we can have in Jesus Christ. So let's get at it. Now, welcome back to Purpose to Audacity. I am your host, Charmaine Marie, and it's a pleasure being back with you for the beginning of our next series, and that is called The Purge. Now, there's a lot in store for you in terms of this series. It's meant to be that journey into your healing. I mean, in the previous series, we spoke about, what cripples your audacity, and we spoke about the voices around us that might be speaking into our ears and dissuading us from things. We spoke about doubt. We spoke about insecurities. We spoke about a multiplicity of things that literally are things that persons experience in a real life setting. Right? And so I wanted to move on from that foundation of understanding what audacity or purposed audacity is into, all right, cool. Now that we've acknowledged, hey, that these things might have sown seeds to cripple our audacity and whatever, now we're going to work on actually addressing these matters, right? So so again, we're going into the series called The Purge, and it's taking us right into the new year, and it's going to be a 5-week series actually, so just get ready for that. But basically the topic for today is let's be honest, right? So I've said in some of the previous episodes that one of the first things, especially in repentance or being able to move forward, is literally admitting the situation or admitting what has been causing us to be bothered or distracted or things like that, and that main thing or whatever that main thing is for you, it's important for you to be willing to acknowledge that. It's important for you to be willing to say, all right, cool, this is definitely not good for me. This is something that needs to keep something that definitely needs to keep just getting out of my system. You get me? So in terms of the topic for today, let's be honest, it's literally a call to check your heart. It's a call to check your heart because you need to understand that, all right, cool. Sometimes a lot of the words that we're saying to people, a lot of the things that we're doing on a daily basis are not necessarily, benefiting our heart or staying true to how we are feeling at heart. I'll give you an example. Maybe it's a thing where, we are journeying with somebody and we're seeing that, maybe so sorry about that. We're seeing where maybe that person has done something to us or has said something to us that never didn't sit right with us and thing, but we keep on saying, hey, we're friends, hey, we're all good and proper and things like that. But then when it really comes down to it, when you're in your closet, when you're in your bed and whatever, you're laying down crying, you're not feeling right. Not only for the fact that they are doing the thing with you, or you are doing that journey with them, but also for the fact that you are denying how you're truly feeling at heart, and you're just moving forward on that journey with them. So it's literally the denial of self so that you can keep up appearances, and that's dangerous. I'll give you another example that maybe you'll know about or something. I don't know if you know about the series called Girlfriends. It no longer, shows, but it's it was a kind of popular series a couple years ago. But the two main characters, Joan and Tony, they were best friends and thing, and they would do everything together. But Tony was always the friend that was just not doing right by Joan, and just not, you know, yeah, she was just not the proper best friend, I'll say, you know. And there was one instance where, you know, Joan ended up kind of speaking about something that Tony did without, I don't know, it was basically just a mistake that Joan had made. And this was the biggest piece of drama that you would have found, you know. It was the biggest sin that Joan could have done, even though Tony was always the one hurting Joan, you know. And then Joan had to end up in therapy, and the therapist kept on saying, hey, tell me about this friendship and stuff. And, you know, initially she was giving surface answers like, oh yeah, me and Tony, you know, we're good and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, it was just really discovered that Joan had been hurting where Tony is concerned for a long, long time, but she started coping with it by making excuses for Tony. She started saying, oh, Tony doesn't mean it, or Tony loves me, or, you know, all of these things. And I mean, it's not to say that Tony did not love her or consider her a friend of some sort, but that just because somebody says they love you, or just because somebody has given you the title of best friend, does not necessarily excuse them doing crap, you know, and consistent foolishness, you know. But the thing about it is, we also help to allow them to prolong it when we do not speak up. Now, so now that I've laid that foundation, now I want to give another example. On the flip side, the example that kind of shows you what happens when you are able to speak up, or when you choose to speak up, right? So recently, I was doing something for a particular institution, and I was going to be working with a particular individual. Wow, what's going on with my throat? I'm sorry. I was going to be doing something with a particular individual. And, you know, initially all the groundwork was laid, all the paperwork, all them things there. And a reality is that all of a sudden the person just backed out. And they didn't even just back out like, oh, yeah, man, Charmian, I don't want to do this or whatever. It was just by chance I heard that the person backed out, you know, and I felt slighted, like, why would you do that? Why would you have such a, like, you know, that don't make no sense. A couple weeks later, I had a sit-down conversation with the person, because I said, you know what? It doesn't make sense that I'm so upset about this, and I'm not speaking directly to the person, because at the end of the day, we're trying our best to move away from rumors. We're trying our best to move away from the assumptions and the everything that can literally make a situation worse. So I had a sit-down conversation with the person, and I explained myself, and I explained how I was feeling and stuff. And then the person explained what was happening that caused them to be, you know, doing what they were doing, and what caused them to have backed out. And therefore, you know, they just said, all right, cool, sorry about that. Moving forward, I'll definitely do this, and so on, so on, so on. So weeks passed, and it was now the week of the execution, basically, and still nothing was done. And on top of that, there was almost this attitude, or this stance of, yo, I'm not doing this kind of a thing. And by this point, you know, especially for the fact that we need to execute and whatever, I was not sweet, you know. But at the same time, I made sure not to be, you know, ordering the person around or shouting at the person or whatever, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense to be disrespectful on top of everything, right? And I realized that things were welling back up in my heart and stuff, and it was just unhealthy. Cut a long story short, the thing was executed, and it was a success. And you know, the person ended up helping in the latter part of that same execution, or the same day, you know, and yeah. So it came off and thing. So I really started just praying to the Lord about it, and I said, "Hey, Lord, what should I do?" Because apart from this, we were supposed to work on another project together. But I said, if this is the experience with this, and this is nothing near the magnitude of the potential other projects that would come from the other partnership, then yeah, there's a problem, right? And so I heard nothing from the person, nothing at all, and I actually waited because I'm like, all right, cool. Are you going to address this or should I? Because remember, I'm always the one that is reaching out. You get me? And there's a part of me that's like, why do I always have to take the higher road? Why do I always feel like I have to be pulling teeth? But I said, cool. Yeah. Anyway, cut a long story short, 3 days ago, I reached out to the person and I said, hey, should we... there are two conversations that need to be had, basically, but one of them, we don't necessarily have to have it since that has passed already. But in terms of the future thing, we definitely need to discuss that. And the person agreed and thing. And cut a long story short, we laid everything out on the table in the sense of how we're feeling. And we're feeling the same way about each other. And we honestly said that it's clear that we both are very creative, very headstrong, and good things happen or whatever. It's just that we it might cause more conflict than cohesion. And at the end of the day, cut a long story short, we decided to call whatever quits before anything else starts, so that we can maintain peace and at least mutual respect and a cordial relationship. All right. And that was that. I mentioned this example to say that I was able to feel a peace and a release thereafter because guess what? I was willing to be honest. I was willing to say, all right, cool. This is what is going on. This is the core issue that is happening and stuff. And if we don't address this, this can get uglier, right? So cool. So now that I've laid that foundation, I want to say that when we are going through our lives, when we are going through, situation after situation, when we don't take time to sit back and reflect and think about the things that might be bunging up our heart, I must say bung up, like full on constipation, like just need to give you a very vivid example, if we are choosing not to sit down and reflect and acknowledge the things that are affecting our hearts and stuff like that, and choosing not to be honest with ourselves and those around us, then we have a building problem. We have a building problem for the fact that, at the end of the day, when we don't address the issues that are affecting our core, affecting our heart, affecting our very soul, then that is when we will start lashing out. That is when we will start literally becoming someone else. That is when we will start, just not walking in the purposeful path that we were supposed to be walking on. And that is dangerous because one, that robs the world of the light that you have been called to bring. Two, that robs you of potential good relationships. Three, it robs you of potential opportunities because if they're experiencing something with you right now in this situation, if this is how you're choosing to handle that and how you're lashing out and everything, why would they want to work with you moving forward? Four, it honestly just wastes your time and not only your time but your energy. It's always said that when you have up somebody in your heart and when you malice in somebody and all them things there, like it hurts you more than it hurts the person, because that person could have well and released that a long time ago, but the time and the energy that you spend in to hold up somebody in your heart, and every time you see them you make up your face, and every time you see them you get angry again and all them things or whatever, you have time for waste. You're cute. We're not doing that. We're not doing that for 2020. So I'm saying that to say, let's be honest. Let's be honest about the things that actually affect us. Let's be honest about the things that cause us to feel some type of way, and I realize that a lot of times, especially as Christians, we don't want to admit what causes us to feel some type of way because we don't want when I want to give people the reality that, boy, we're not going to give them a Miss World answer, because there is this predisposed notion, or preconceived notion rather, that we Christians are perfect. And I mean, it's partially because people partially have that notion because of how we put ourselves across. We make it seem that we have that everything set in our Christian lives and everything like that, and we really don't. It's honestly just a form of godliness. It really is most of the time. You get me? But because we work so hard to be illusionists, honestly, we don't realize that sometimes, therefore, it is difficult for people to see us as human. And then that is when we get into the liquor problems. That is when, okay, cool, when certain sins are gone and things bust out in the open and whatever, the whole excuse of, oh, I'm human. It just doesn't fly. It doesn't fly because we're not honest, we're not open, we're not transparent. And so it's important for us now to just say, all right, cool, this is how I am at the core. And if it is that, all right, cool, if in evaluating the situation logically and with the help of the Lord and all of that, if it is that we're not able to sit back and do that and stuff like that, then we're playing a dangerous game with our lives, right? Because that means that we're prolonging things and causing things to build up and stuff, things that could be solved with a simple conversation, and things that, okay, cool, even if it can't be solved with a simple conversation, it can actually, the journey to healing can begin. And that is the danger that you run in just not being honest with yourself. So, right, the word purge literally means basically the conscious effort to purify something, to get rid of the bad stuff, to remove, to basically, yeah, just take yourself out of that nastiness, And in this case, or in a Christian's case, the nastiness would be sin. But even on a more minuscule level, well, I don't want to say minuscule level, but even on a more direct level, if you don't, because I mean, I know that there's this belief that sin is this big thing and whatever, and then people just have matters of the heart that they must deal with. So they kind of there's a separation. So all right, cool. I could just talk about the heart. You see me? Because at the end of the day, and the Lord said it, if you think something in your heart or whatever, you've already sinned. If you say something in your heart or whatever, even though you don't say it out of your mouth, you've already sinned. So there is a intrinsic link between whatever is in your heart and whatever is done outside and all them things there. You see me? So that's why the idea is to ensure that the first step in this purging process is checking your heart. And in checking your heart, it requires you to literally just be honest with yourself and say, all right, cool, them things affect me. I do not feel this way about this person anymore, this thing anymore. I also, there's so many things for us to be honest about, especially for the fact that, different things might affect us on our daily sojourn. You get me? So I want to give you just a little exercise, actually, right? Step 1. I don't know if you want to write this down or anything, so I'll give you a little time to get a pen or paper, or just your phone, or you're good. Right? So step 1, I want you to sit down. And it sounds stupid, but I want you to sit down. Sitting down literally causes you to stop everything in its tracks. Sitting down causes you to literally slow down. Sitting down causes you to press that pause button, even when life is happening, and just sit and be with yourself, right? Cool, so sit down, and maybe I should add by yourself, because you could be sitting down and, you're in a room full of people and whatever. Cool. Step 2, I'm actually going to ask you to think back to at least the last year, and I mean, fine, we're at the end of 2019, so it would be good to reflect on the year behind you and things. So let's think back on the last year and think back on in that thinking back, think back on all the different incidents that would have happened in the last year, right? And I'm saying the last year because sometimes maybe something happened 3 years ago and whatever, and unless you're making the deliberate effort to hold up somebody in your heart for 3 years, 1 year is more fresh, or 1 year, you'd be able to recall things more in detail and things like that. So yeah, so that's step 2. Think back on the different incidents that would have happened in the year 2019. Step 3, now cry out to the Lord. Ask the Lord, all right, cool, are you how were you in each of these instances? Were you honest in these instances? Was this honestly wrong on the other person's part or anything like that? Right? And it's not a thing of, oh, yes, Lord, take my side, or, oh, yes, Lord, if you don't take my side, you're against me, or whatever. But literally use the word as the measuring stick, stating, all right, cool, yo, that did wrong, that was right, whatever. And it's not a thing of, okay, cool, we're gonna fling this in somebody's face. But literally, the idea is to be able to objectively, as best as possible, evaluate the situations and ask for the Lord's direct input in our reflections. So that's step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 4, swallow pride. yeah man. And I mean, the reason that's a whole step is because enough of the time there's going to be a flesh rising up saying, yeah man, but me did right about this and so and so and so and so. Or it would be a thing where you realize where you were wrong in the certain situation. You don't want to accept it because your ego is just cute. Yeah, no, we're not doing that today. Yeah. So that's step 4. Step 5, be willing to release that. Now, that's a whole step because that one is kind of relative based on the fact that the Lord is going to instruct you as to how to release this one. Now, on one hand, people will tell you, oh, it's and the Bible says it too. If you have, and then it's normally said before you're gonna do communion, if you have up your brother, basically, go and go settle it before you come to my throne and eat with me, right? Pretty much. Clearly, I'm not saying that verbatim, but that's the vibe, right? So it's saying that, okay, cool, there needs to be a conscious effort to squash the thing and talk through the thing and whatever. Zine, there's another train of thought too, that time fixes things, right? And whereas funny enough, I'm also a strong believer in this one as well. It's just that time is money and time is life. Crystal Tomlinson said that the other day, time is life. And our reality is that the longer you take to actually, approach somebody or deal with that situation, is the longer you're giving piece of your life over to that situation there. And I don't know about you, but I don't believe that there's any situation that is worth pieces of my life or chunks of my life. You get me? And I mean, I learned that the hard way. So I'm not saying that to say, oh, get over it or whatever, but I'm saying that to say that, it's when you're evaluating and it's when you're growing in the Lord and when you have that distinct will to heal, that is when you realize it, right? So the Lord can literally ask you to release by going to somebody, or the Lord can literally help you to release by just taking you on a personal journey of healing, and then time ends up passing. But at the end of the day, some form of communication or some form of closure would be best. You get me? Because at the end of the day, it's not a thing of, oh, after you're on a healing journey, you're hoping that the person liking you or whatever. But it's more of a thing of being mature enough to be on that same page and say, all right, cool, we're going to just decide to not pursue any form of friendship. We're going to decide to, maybe try this friendship thing one more time, or we're just going to decide to have mutual respect and, stay out of each other's space, things like that. But at least let it be that, there's some form of respect that is struck up between you. And if it is a thing where you have approached the other person, or looked into the situation that has been plaguing you or anything like that, and it's just not a quick fix like that or whatever, let it be that there was that effort, because that effort, that stance, that step towards bettering that thing is actually that first step towards, all right, cool, I'm gonna take the bull by the horns and I'm going to be healed for 2020. You get me? So that was 5 steps, and I want you to take them very seriously, because it's when you're honest with yourself, it's when you are open with yourself first and with God, and then those around you, that healing can begin. That's when your purge begins. It's always said that even when you're on a diet, and they always talk about juice purge or whatever, is when you deliberately fling things out of the house where you know not good for you. You get me? So it's a conscious action. So that is why I've chosen the word purge, because it requires not only, okay, cool, let's float around and wait on healing to come, but it requires you to take the bull by the horns, or it requires you to get up and literally deliberately journey with the Lord and say, yo, Lord, I'm claiming this healing, and I'm claiming this journey with you, this journey of self-love, this journey of all of that healing. I'm claiming it, and I'm going to walk in it. You get me? So at the end of the day, let it be that you have taken this first step, and it would be great if you even start the first 2 or 3 steps before the year ends, so that you can actually move in 2020 in that conscious place of, all right, cool, I'm going to approach this person, I'm going to deal with this situation, I'm going to unbury that thing that has been buried in my heart for so many years. I'm going to do all of it, because it's not good for my heart, and I need to clear up all the space in my heart so that new wine can be poured in, and newness can be the order of the day. You get me? So again, well, this has been a complete mouthful, but let it be that we are ready to start that purge journey. Let's be honest. All right, so it has been my pleasure sharing with you today. I would love if you could like, share, subscribe. I have a few surprises coming your way very soon, but until you see them, just go on doing your thing. Right? You can reach out to me via Instagram on either of 2 accounts. One is the Purpose Audacity page. Well, there's also one on Facebook too, but I'm working on developing that a little more. But that's Purpose Audacity, JA. That's a handle on Instagram. Or you can reach out to me directly. That's Charmian Marie at Charmian Marie, CharmianMarie. All right. So I'm hoping that you got something from this. I just feel heavily that so many of us need some healing. So many of us need to start that purging process, that process of turning away from sin, that process of turning away from the things that honestly just are not pure about us, and the things that we can have control over, and I always say, the enemy don't have any jurisdiction in our lives, but you see, we give him a level of footing, or we give him a foothold in our lives when we are afraid to address the very things that are helping to kill us, right? So take back your footing, take back that boldness, take back that stance of understanding that you have jurisdiction over your life with the full guidance of the Lord through Holy Spirit, right? And it's just time to claim your healing. All right. So I'm happy that you're going to start this journey with me. And as I speak, I'm also journeying with you. And it's always my intention, as you heard earlier, I shared a situation that happened literally days ago, because I've realized, especially since starting this podcast, anything that I say that I'm going to be speaking about, a situation just ends up happening, you know. And I'm grateful for it because it makes it that much more real for me when I'm speaking to you, because I'm not speaking from a place of perfection, but one of progression, you know. I believe progress is the way we should be going as Christians, and I'm ready. So I hope you're ready too. All right, so until next time, guys, thank you so much for joining me for Purpose to Audacity. All right, take care. Bye.